Slammer cruise missile detonates inside the Iranian IRGC command center at Bandar Abbas. There is no warning, no sirens, just the sound of high explosive turning a hardened bunker into a pressurized oven of fire. Outside, two Saudi F-15SA Eagle fighters pull into a vertical climb, dumping flares against a sky that hasn't realized the war has started. This is a decapitation. The first strike has landed. The slammer severed the nervous system of the Iranian coastal defense network. In the jagged cliffs of the Musandam Peninsula, the first Iranian ghost truck slides its canvas roof back. 5 Shahed 136 drones roar into the air, then another truck opens. Then 10 more. Within 90 seconds, the horizon is a wall of 150 suicide drones moving at 115 miles per hour toward the mouth of the strait. They are hunting the narrowest choke point on the planet. The Saudi F-15SA flight lead looks at his radar. The screen is a solid mass of green blinking dots. The pilots drop their noses, pushing the throttles to the wall. The two Pratt and Whitney engines push them to 950 miles per hour as they dive toward the sea, trying to get underneath the Iranian radar coverage. But the Iranians aren't looking up. They are looking out. 5 miles offshore, the Iranian coastal batteries fire. 12 Noor anti-ship missiles leave their canisters. They drop to just 10 feet above the waves, masking their approach against the sea clutter. Their target is the USS Arleigh Burke, currently patrolling the eastern edge of the shipping lane. The destroyer's Aegis combat system picks up the Noor missiles at 22 miles. The ship's vertical launch system hatches on the forward deck, blow open with a pneumatic hiss. 4 SM-2 missiles erupt from the deck. They leave the rails with a roar that vibrates the entire 9,000-ton hull. The solid rocket boosters burn for 6 seconds, pushing the interceptors to 2,300 miles per hour. They are hunting the Noor missiles. The first SM-2 finds its target 12 miles out. 2 seconds later, the second SM-2 shreds another Noor. But there are 12 incoming missiles and only 4 interceptors in the air. The USS Arleigh Burke is forced to ripple fire its remaining forward cells. Another 8 SM-2 missiles scream into the sky. The Saudi F-15SA pilots watch from 15,000 feet as the USS Arleigh Burke disappears behind a wall of its own defensive fire. The drones are closing. The Shahed 136 swarm is now just 4 miles from the destroyer. The USS Arleigh Burke activates its phalanx CIWS. The R2-D2-shaped gun mount on the aft deck slews toward the incoming drone swarm. It fires a continuous stream of 20mm armor-piercing tungsten rounds at a rate of 4,500 per minute. The lead drones in the swarm simply disintegrate. One Shahed 136 loses a wing and spirals into the water. Another takes a hit to the nose and detonates midair, the blast wave knocking 2 other drones off course. But the swarm is too big. 10 drones are hit every second, yet 20 more take their place. The phalanx CIWS is running hot. On the bridge, the vibration is constant. The ship is fighting for its life against $20,000 plastic drones using $100,000 rounds of ammunition. And then just 2 miles to the starboard of the USS Arleigh Burke, a group of 5 Iranian dhows, traditional wooden fishing boats, have been bobbing in the water for hours. They looked like harmless fishermen. Now their wooden hulls fall away like a stage curtain. Underneath isn't wood, but reinforced steel and high-speed outboard motors. These are Arsenal dhows. Each boat is carrying 2 802 anti-ship missiles mounted on crude angled rails. At a distance of less than 2 miles, the USS Arleigh Burke has no time to use its long-range interceptors. The dhows fire. 10 C-802 missiles streak across the water. They are so close, the destroyer's radar barely has time to lock on. The USS Arleigh Burke initiates an emergency turn, heeling hard to port. The ship's Nolka active missile decoys launch from the sides, hovering in the air to seduce the incoming seekers. But the C-802 missiles are too close. One C-802 slams into the side of the destroyer just above the waterline. The explosion doesn't sink the ship, but it rips a 20-foot hole in the hull and destroys the secondary radar array. The USS Arleigh Burke is now partially blind. The Saudi F-15SA flight leader sees the hit. He rolls his jet inverted and dives toward the arsenal dows. He switches his master arm to guns. The 20mm M61A2 Vulcan cannon in the wing of the Eagle begins to scream. He rakes the first dow from bow to stern. The wooden boat packed with fuel and spare missile batteries vanishes in a fireball that sends debris 500 feet into the air. His wingman follows, dropping 2 GBU-39 small-diameter bombs on the remaining dows. The precision is terrifying. The bombs track the moving targets with GPS-guided fins punching through the thin holes before detonating in the engine rooms. Within 60 seconds, the arsenal dows are gone. Only burning oil slicks remain. But the Iranian trap is deeper than a few boats. High above the strait at 65,000 feet, an Iranian Shahed 191 stealth drone is circling. It's carrying a high-output electronic warfare suite. It activates. Suddenly, the radar screens on the Saudi F-15SAs and the USS Arleigh Burke go white. Then they turn black. Thousands of fake ships and aircraft appear on the displays, moving at impossible speeds. The US and Saudi forces are now effectively blind. In the confusion, the Iranians launch their master stroke. From a hidden silo in the mountains behind Bandar Abbas, a Khalij Fars anti-ship ballistic missile clears the rail. It's a solid fuel missile that climbs to the edge of space before diving back down at 2,300 miles per hour. Its target isn't the damaged USS Arleigh Burke. Its target is the Al Mubarak, a Saudi VLCC supertanker carrying 2 million barrels of crude oil currently sitting dead in the water just 3 miles away. If the Al Mubarak dies, the oil will ignite. The strait will be closed for months. Global energy markets will collapse before the sun sets. The USS Arleigh Burke's crew is working frantically to bypass the jamming. They switch to infrared tracking, but the Khalij Fars is too high and too fast. The ballistic missile is already in its terminal phase, re-entering the atmosphere. The Saudi F-15SA pilots can see the missile's re-entry glow with their naked eyes. They can't intercept a ballistic missile with a fighter jet, they can only watch. The tanker is a massive defenseless target. The missile is 10 seconds from impact. 9, 8, then the ocean floor explodes. 4 miles to the west of the tanker, a series of hidden submerged containers sit on the seabed. These were placed months ago by Saudi Special Mission Units, a secret defense project known only as Project X. The containers blow their lids. 3 interceptors unlike anything in the public inventory launch from beneath the waves. These are high-speed, short-range kinetic interceptors. They use sheer speed to smash the target into dust. The first Saudi interceptor misses. The second one clips the Khalij Fars tail fin, sending the ballistic missile into a violent tumble. The third interceptor slams directly into the warhead of the Khalij Fars at 3,000 miles per hour. But the USS Arleigh Burke isn't done. The ship's captain knows that as long as the Iranian jamming drone is in the air, they are all sitting ducks. They need to kill the eye in the sky, but they can't see it. The USS Arleigh Burke sends a data link burst to the Saudi F-15SAs. The jets are closer to the jamming source. One Eagle pilot uses his specialized infrared search and track pod to find the heat signature of the stealth drone against the cold upper atmosphere. He can't fire a missile, the jamming is too heavy for his jet to guide it, but he can provide the coordinates to the destroyer. The USS Arleigh Burke fires a single SM-6 missile. It leaves the deck of the destroyer and climbs straight up. It uses the data link from the Saudi F-15SA. The missile flies on autopilot to the coordinates provided by the jet. When the SM-6 gets within 5 miles of the jamming drone, it activates its own internal active radar seeker. At this range, the jamming is useless. The SM-6 locks onto the Shahed 191 and accelerates. The drone, a slow-moving wing, has no chance. The SM-6 hits it head-on. Instantly, the radar screens clear. The ghost targets vanish. The world returns to the real brutal tactical picture. The Iranians realize their high-tech gambit has failed. The remaining 70 drones of the original swarm make a final desperate dive for the USS Arleigh Burke. The USS Arleigh Burke unleashes everything. Evolved Sea Sparrow missiles fly from the deck in pairs. The phalanx CIWS begins its mechanical scream again. The Saudi F-15SAs move into the tail of the swarm, picking off drones with their heat-seeking IM-9X Sidewinder missiles. The drones built for a suicide mission find exactly what they were looking for. They are shredded by 20mm rounds detonated by proximity fuses and knocked out of the sky by the sheer turbulence of the explosions around them. One by one, the green dots on the radar screen wink out. The last Shahed 136 was downed by the Saudi flight lead just 600 yards from the supertanker's hull. But there is one final move. The SM-6 that was fired earlier, it had a secondary mission. Before it hit the jamming drone, it shared its data with a second SM-6, launched 3 seconds later. This second missile followed the ballistic trajectory of the Kalajfars back to its source. The SM-6 has a surface-to-surface mode. It's a dual-role killer. The missile streaks across the Iranian coastline, crosses the mountains, and finds the open silo hatch where the Kalajfars was launched. A second Iranian missile was sitting on the pad being fueled for a follow-up strike. The SM-6 dives into the silo at Mach 3.5. The resulting secondary explosion is cataclysmic. The solid rocket fuel of the Iranian missile ignites all at once. The entire mountain ridge seems to lift off the ground. The Saudi F-15S, as their fuel low and their missile rails empty, turn back toward their base. Below them, the USS Arleigh Burke is trailing smoke from the C-802 hit, but its Aegis radar is still spinning, still hunting. The supertanker Al-Mubarak begins to move again. The Strait of Hormuz is a graveyard. The Iranian coastal defenses are silent. Their ghost fleet is at the bottom of the Gulf. The Saudi pilots land their jets. The ground crews find shrapnel scars on the wings of the flight lead's jet pieces of the drones he shredded at close range. There is no cheering, only the grim realization of how close the world came to a total collapse. The U.S. destroyer limps toward a friendly port. Its magazine is nearly empty. It used 60 interceptors in less than 20 minutes. The ship is a testament to the fact that even the most advanced navy in the world can be pushed to the brink by a persistent, rational, and dangerous enemy. The covert war is over, the open war has begun. Before you go, one thing about the SLAM Air that almost nobody talks about. Most cruise missiles are fire and forget. You program the coordinates you launch and you wait for the boom. The SLAM Air is different. It features a man-in-the-loop data link. In that opening strike, the Saudi pilot wasn't just watching the missile fly. He was actually seeing what the missile saw through its infrared nose camera. He could pause the missile's final dive, circling it over the target to re-verify that he wasn't about to hit a school or a hospital. He could literally pick which window in the bunker the missile entered. The weapon that started this engagement was a remote-controlled eye. The precision was about a human being holding a joystick, staring into the face of the enemy from 50 miles away and deciding exactly when to pull the trigger. Think about the psychological weight of that.